Hi, good morning. It's Jim from the maverickstar Observatory. Guys, we're going to be taking a look at the data that's just come in from Richard down there in the Gold Coast of Australia. But before we do, as usual, great big thanks to those people that are supporting us here at the Observatory. Big thanks to those on patrons, and special thanks to Doug, who, without fail, continuously supports us here. I want to say also a big thank you to Scott. You know who you are. He's one of our latest superstars that has just took on one of our magnetometers down in Arizona, America. So yeah, interesting times, guys. There's a lot going on, isn't there? This coronavirus shutting down China and all the ports that supply the world with all its global goods. And you can't help but think, what will be the knock-on effect of that? Will it stop the manufacturing production of factories around the world when they run out of their supplies and can no longer continue to build what they do without those components that come from China? It could have a knock-on effect. It could also lead to things increasing further down the line for us. So let's get into it then, guys. We're looking at the data that has just come in from Richard in the Gold Coast, and you can see that it started off at around about 78 microteslas, dropped to 77 or just below, and then continuously went up to almost capping 79 microteslas. That's a shift of 2 microteslas. That's a lot, guys. When we have a look back over the time, like last month, and compare it, we could see that it was hovering constantly around 77 microteslas. The month before that, it went up to it went down to 77 teslas, started off around about 79, and fluctuated over those 2 microteslas. What we're seeing is this happen a lot. It's quite alarming, really, when you think about it, because there's a lot of activity happening around the Gold Coast. It has dropped from originally 81 microteslas to where it is now, so it's still not at its level, but it is certainly creeping its way back up there. But for the last 6 months, for the fluctuations of these extents, it's quite interesting. Something definitely is going on beneath the tectonic plate under Australia right now, and I would even say that Australia right now is probably one of the most active regions, at least around the Gold Coast area. Now, I just want to compare what's going on with China at the moment, because China is decaying and has lost around about 12.5 to 15% of its total magnetic intensity in 6 months, and it is continuing the trend. It hasn't gone back up at all. So something's happening in China, something's happening in the Gold Coast of Australia. There's a lot of fluctuations going on, and I would say that this is typical of getting close to that 40-degree mark. Let's have a look at that. So here's the 40-degree mark, and we can see the pins recently that we've put in, and around about the 17th of every month, I pull out the SD card from the Trimag system, and we do another location of where the magnetic North Pole is. But you can see we're about 300 to 400 miles away from the 40-degree mark. And if you remember the experiments that we did, when you start getting close to the 40-degree mark, when the compass heading or the compass needle has migrated a total of 40 degrees, it starts to swing a lot more left and right, and it is at that point where it is balancing between the strong and weak magnetic field lines. Now, compass headings are usually fixed rigid in strong field lines, but when they get to about 40 degrees, they start to enter the weak field lines, and as a result we get this toing and swaying of the compass needle if we was looking at it in front of ourselves. And what we're seeing right now in the Gold Coast and in China right now is that toing and froing. It's going to be interesting times, guys, because I've put off I've put out there a theory that when we do get to that 40-degree mark, it's going to be not far away in time. We've probably got 3 to 7 years before it hits that at its current speed right now. When it does, the magnetosphere will collapse, and as a result of that, one of the 2 things that we face will result in increased cosmic radiation. Now, one of those 2 things is not as important as the other one, and I'm going to tell you what these two things are. First of all, we've got the grand solar minimum, which is allowing the heliosphere, which protects our solar system right now, to allow more cosmic radiation in as a result of that shrinkage because of the low solar output. On top of that, we've got the Earth going through a magnetic reversal. Now, comparing the two, one of them is a cycle a lot shorter than the other one. It was back in the Maunder minimum times, the 1600s, 1700s, when the Sun went through its last grand solar minimum. And it was also noted during the solar minimum period that the temperatures of the Earth dropped significantly, and it was classified in the northern hemisphere as the Little Ice Age. But what you've got to remember is that the Little Ice Age had already taken effect before the grand solar minimum had come in, so we can't really say that as a result of low sunspot activity we get low temperatures. But what we are facing is this rare event. Last time 780,000 years ago, if we exclude the excursions, and we can't say that we are in an excursion at the moment, but what we can say is that it's more likely this time to be a completed reversal, and the reason why we can say that is because it's 500,000 years overdue. We know that from studying the terraform on Mars, what happens to a planet when it loses its magnetosphere permanently. It ends up looking like Mars. We can see that by looking at a terraform that there are these little water channels which was carved out through the erosion of water flowing on that surface for thousands of years. That water no longer is there. Another thing that's no longer there on Mars is the magnetosphere that give it its magnetic poles and in turn give it its protection in a similar manner to what Earth has right now. That's why NASA are focusing on Mars and Venus, our neighbouring planets. They're trying to understand how much can be affected by the loss of a magnetic field or our magnetosphere. They know what's going on. Now, when you look at the there is some suspicious activity, if we just divert from this topic a little bit, with the coronavirus. What if, and I don't think it is the case, but we can just theoretically think, what if the coronavirus, as some people have said, is weaponized? What about if this gets out of hand and spreads globally, infects most of the cities globally, and becomes a major pandemic in the fact that millions of people are dying? What would have been the purpose of manufacturing such a virus to start with? That's one of the things that I've been thinking of over the last few days, and I've been speaking to a few people over this. What would be the purpose of this? If you knew that at some point the Earth's magnetic field was going to collapse, and at that point, if there was 7 billion people on the Earth, it would be a major catastrophe for everyone. But if you could just cut back on the numbers in a way that appears to be natural, like a virus that just breaks out, then you probably minimize the damage control. So it's worth just keeping our eye on what's going on with this coronavirus, because if we are 3 years away from a magnetic reversal on our planet, then there has to be a plan, obviously, to reduce numbers. Now, we all know this. We've seen the Georgia Guidestones. We know what's been put on there. We know that there's a plan. Is this it with the coronavirus? Is this the virus that's going to reduce the numbers dramatically to minimise, the collateral damage, what is caused by a magnetic reversal on this planet? We're already starting to see massive cracks form in our modern day society with the reduction now of agricultural food and land going offline as a result. So we know it's on the cards. We're starting to see, they already have seen it, they probably know what is to come, and they may be taking action as we speak. You've got to think about it. If you know and you're in the power to do so, you've got to cut numbers. And you know, the coronavirus could be just that mechanism. So you know what I'm saying, guys. If that is the case, I will say this, you know, within the last couple of 100 years in the UK, we went through a period of time, you know, where the Black Death or the pneumonic plague was, you know, futile. You know, it was out there killing thousands at the time. And what a lot of people done to survive that was take themselves out of the city and move back out into these little cottages and manor houses where you could grow your own food. Isn't that really strange when, you know, you hear today on a lot of the channels on YouTube that are discussing the grand solar minimum and the magnetic pole reversal, that is exactly what you should be doing right now, is trying to find yourselves outside these cities. I mean, we can see, if we just take a look at some of the news stories that's come out with regards to China, people against the will being dragged out their houses regardless and threw into white containers on the back of pickup trucks. You know, cities are stagnant places. They're not sustainable. The only reason that it supports as many people in these cities as it does is because of the logistics of, you know, food flowing in there, fuel flowing in there, and energy flowing into it. But when things start to break down, and they're going to, I said there's plenty of reasons for it to break down, and it's inevitable. You've got to get this into your heads, guys. It is going to take place at some point in the near future. And like I say, in the gauntlet, there are so many obstacles, and now the coronavirus has been added to that gauntlet. It's another one for us to avoid. And in that gauntlet already is the magnetic reversal, is the grand solar minimum, is the economic collapse, is this, is that, and you can just name and reel them off. You know, there's so many things in there now we've got to avoid. It is going to be at some point a collision. Our world's changing before our eyes, guys. And when it comes down to it, you know, you can't even trust your neighbour. And I'll tell you why that is, because when he doesn't have, or she doesn't have, something that they need to sustain their life, they're going to either die not trying or die trying to get it. You've got to remember that. That will be the motivation for them to do horrible things. And it's not even 80 years ago where we witnessed this taking place in Stalingrad during the blockade. Cannibalism came straight back. Deaths of 100,000 every month fighting over food rations. That's exactly how we will all behave during a crisis. And there is things that you can do to safeguard yourself. If this virus does become an increasing problem, then you can't afford to go out mixing with people at work and this, that and the other. You need to have some food storage set aside for yourselves for at least 12 months. And it can easily be achieved, that storage. You could start off with the basics, you know, a couple of sacks of rice, which is enough for 1 cup of food, or 1 cup of rice a day for each person, yeah? That you can live on that. And then you can increase on it, you know, with more luxurious items. But, you know, if that time comes, you know, it won't be long before, you know, the whole global system breaks down. And, we're seeing something else come about that was, you know, about in the Second World War, and that is the behaviour of organisations. Now, we've seen the pictures of the Nazis burning books, an old tactic, you know, that happened to the Mayans. All their literature was burned. You know, it seems to be, we'll wipe out your past and we'll give you a new future. And, you know, it isn't going to be long before we see this happening right before our eyes. And if you want evidence of that, at the bottom of this video today, you will see a Wikipedia link pointing to global warming, and then it will direct you to the charts and the information that they want you to see. Now, why would they, you know, constantly attach that to my videos, and videos like Tony Heller puts out there and other people as well. Why would they constantly do that? They're fighting for your attention during these times. They want their information to be, you know, what you see, and they don't like alternative information, what I put out. I just want to say before I end up this video, you know, we are using here at the maverickstar Observatory state-of-the-art technology, and in most respects the exact same technology that bigger organisations like NASA, NOAA and, you know, Ice Cube down in Antarctica use for the collecting of their data. The only difference is that I'm building this equipment in my living room at home on a budget, and, you know, I can't afford not to buy some of the components that they would use themselves, such as those photo multipliers or the SIPMs. You know, that's exactly what NASA would use, those same components. We can't do the job without them, but we can build them here in my home. NASA would send it off, you know, have it made, it would cost hundreds of thousands. This is the only way we can compete with NASA. I just want to also say this, the results we get back are amazing. If you go back 13 months ago, when NASA announced it was going to release its new data due to the changes of the Earth's magnetic field, we came out well before them and brought it to your attention that there was new activity with regards to the magnetic poles on this Earth and the magnetosphere about 2 months before they did. We got it out there to you guys before NASA got it out to you guys. You got to, you know, it is amazing. But the only reason we've been able to do any of this, and we have massively expanded our observatory now over the world, as you know. We're set to put magnetometers now in Bali, Brazil, South Africa, southern Australia, as well as muon detectors and other bits of equipment. You know, the only way we've been able to do it is by public funding, and it is globally public funding. We get money from Norway sometimes, we get money from America sometimes from Canada, sometimes here at home in the UK and all the other European countries. There's a lot of people that actually are interested in getting the information on the most current and significant events that are taking place with our Earth right now, and that is solely down to two things, and these are the real issues, guys, because there is no avoiding what is coming. We are in a magnetic reversal and have been for the last 100 years, and, you know, more so now because it's covering more distance in shorter spaces of time. We are not going to avoid the magnetic reversal. We can avoid coronavirus, we can avoid all, you know, economic collapses and things like that, but we cannot avoid what nature has chosen and selected for this time period that we're living in. So, you know, I always say this, there's a link down there if you want to support us. You know, you can support us on Patreon, and, you know, that I can't understand why the patrons are dropping off down to 188. We get up to 200 at the end of the month, and then they drop down to 188 again. It's just frustrating. You know, we always seem to be stuck where we are with that. But there is a PayPal account as well, you know, you can donate to. But the most important thing is that, you know, more people start coming forward and helping us. You know, we are spreading out over the world. My ambition this year is to increase this observatory's footprint on this Earth. You know, we are definitely taking this somewhere, guys. We're collecting data and we're relaying that data back out to you guys, the public. We just need a little push and a bit of a help from some people, and hopefully a few more than what's been coming forward over the last few months. We've just about scraped by over the winter, over this Christmas period. So, you know, the links are down there. We have got a lot of expense coming up. You know, these magnetometers cost around £20 to parcel out and send around the world at different locations, and we've just built another 4. We've got another 2 muon detectors currently being built now, and, you know, we need support. It's as simple as that, and we can get the data out, we can put it up on the website, and you guys can, you know, use it. So I'm going to leave it here. You know, with all what's going on, try and have an amazing day. It's the beginning of the week, and like I say, the links are down there if you want to support what we do here at the maverickstar Observatory, and I just want to thank those that have to date. Okay, I'll leave you to it, guys. Have an amazing day. As always, bye for now.